Hello and welcome back to another episode of Nick Tiffany's Movie Reviews, coming at you online and in print format at nicktiffany.com, in audio format wherever you get your podcasts, and even in video on YouTube. Today we are coming at you with at least a couple new theatrical releases, as well as a little D23 news and discussion. Just briefly, Disney always puts on their big event, kind of broadcasting everything they've got coming up from across all departments, from Pixar and animation to Fox Studios and all the things James Cameron is doing with Avatar. Now that Disney owns everything, it's all just under their massive umbrella. They're doing theme park changes, but we got tons of trailers, tons of looks at new sequels, and a lot of things that Disney is planning. But we will get to that in a moment. There were really an interesting pair of films that came out this Friday. And of the two that I saw, I was surprised at which one I ended up liking a little bit more. First, I want to talk about Cuckoo, starring Hunter Schafer, kind of her first leading film role. Cuckoo is a sci-fi thriller from Neon, who just put out Long Legs, which is doing great in theaters right now. Tillman Singer wrote and directed the film. It is, I don't know, it's one of those, the trailer tells one story, but the film tells another. You can tell there's some weird sci-fi vibe going on here. Hunter Schafer's character Gretchen has just lost her mom, so she's forced to go live out with her dad, who is going out to the middle of, yeah, he's way out in Europe. I'm forgetting which country now, but they're way out in the woods, staying with a man played by Dan Stevens, Herr Koenig. And he kind of runs this scientific research center out deep into the woods. They're working on curing diseases. They're doing all sorts of great stuff. There's just this weird kind of vibe that he gives off, though, of, welcome to have you back in our home again, where you belong. After 8 long years, you can tell he knows Gretchen's father clearly better than he's maybe leading on. But Gretchen's also there with her new stepmother and stepsister as well. Two people whom she doesn't really interact with because she and her mom were kind of their own little family unit. So she's definitely out of sorts in a new place where things are already weird enough and difficult enough. And when she takes a job working as the receptionist at the hotel, there's very clear rules. You're done by 10 o'clock when the hotel is shut down. You're to get a car ride home. Don't be outside. So, of course, that's immediately a red flag, but also like, I wonder what kind of happens at night. And this is sort of where that thriller element is introduced to the film. There is someone or something out there lurking in the shadows. People are kind of getting sick in weird ways. There's just so much that is off. And what I thought was going to be more of a horror film was more kind of sci-fi, not quite creature feature, but interested in experimenting and all sorts of funky, wonky stuff. And so there's really interesting filming going on there. I enjoyed the story enough. Maybe it felt like towards the end, I felt like I'd seen enough movies that were fairly similar to this. I think Hunter Schafer kills it as Gretchen. She does a really wonderful job physically as an actor too. She kind of gets her ass beat in this film and just really gets beaten up or scraped up, and just really, really was terrific in the role, playing a fairly indifferent 17-year-old kid who's dealing with the weight of the world right now when weird stuff's happening. And I think her approach to it just seemed incredibly natural. And Dan Stevens, as kind of the leader of this medical group of this place, he's great. He is just always such an entertaining actor, wildly talented, great with accents. He's charming, but again, there is something that he can do that throws you off subtly. If you've seen The Guest, there are moments where he can be quietly confident and then like overwhelmingly confident to the point where you're like, okay, I will do this because you asked, but that's a big ask right there. Just the way he delivers lines and things, he just incredible. So he and Hunter Schafer, I would say, together, really terrific in this film. Really what kind of keep you engaged and involved with it. There's sort of this mystery plot going around on the back end, and I'm not going to get too far into that at all. But it wasn't what I was thinking it was going to be, I guess. I was thinking if Longlegs was more the slow burn detective thriller, a little bit of Satanist religion stuff going on there, then Cuckoo was going to be weird sci-fi, something's going on with the people, and maybe there is a little bit of that, but it wasn't, I don't know. I enjoyed it, but weirdly enough, I enjoyed It Ends With Us, I think, a little bit more. And I happened to watch them back to back. I started with It Ends With Us, and then I went to Cuckoo. And after It Ends With Us, I thought, well, that was great. But now I'm going to something that I think is going to be even better. And wouldn't you know it? After Cuckoo, I was kind of like, all right, well, I enjoyed that. That was good. I don't think it quite reaches the heights that it could have, and I don't know if it sticks the landing in the end. But Colleen Hoover's It Ends With Us has been the kind of talk of the town. I saw an early kind of promo for it during The Bachelorette. Caught my eye. Of course, it's Blake Lively sitting with the director, kind of talking about the importance of adapting a novel like this, kind of plugging it alongside of Deadpool and Wolverine. It's kind of been its own odd controversy online just with the promo tour for this film. Because director Justin Baldoni is also the leading actor in the film as well. Kind of doing press on his own. Blake Lively's kind of been doing it on her own. But there's been a lot of kind of crossover, I guess, with how she's discussing Deadpool and Wolverine, sort of co-plugging these films. And as Deadpool and Wolverine is almost over $1 billion, it's like, I don't know if you need to do that. And for a movie that deals with domestic violence and kind of breaking that circle of abuse, it's one that you would hope maybe there was a little more seriousness paid attention to in the promo, at least as far as the press goes. And so Justin Baldoni's kind of been focusing a lot on that, kind of keeping the discussion on that interestingly. But there's been allusions behind the scenes of just different things going on, perhaps, and how they're handling it. But for all intents and purposes, Colleen Hoover's novel, adapted now into a film, I was largely a fan of. Have not read the book in ways, whether it's some of the character names or just some of the things they're doing, from Lily Bloom, who's opening a flower shop. It's romance novel 101, almost Hallmark-esque. There's definitely moments in the film that feel like elevated Hallmark romance, which are, it's fun and cheesy to acknowledge, but it's also like, well, you know what? If Hallmark did that, maybe they wouldn't get such a bad rep. But Blake Lively plays Lily Bloom, a young woman who at the beginning of the film and the story has just lost her father. And it starts pretty powerfully with the idea of her needing to speak or wanting to speak, being asked to speak at her father's funeral. And her mom gives her a simple task, write 5 good things about him, 5 of your favorite things about him. That's all you got to do. And she gets up there and she's got nothing written down. It doesn't end up saying anything. And you're kind of cued in through flashbacks, looking back at her younger life when she was a teenager in high school, seeing how her father mistreated her mother, going so far as beating her on multiple occasions, holding her down and attacking, just really tough stuff to watch, to talk about, which has kind of been something in the lead-in for the film that the characters discuss, and in the promo for the film is like, obviously this is really awful and uncomfortable stuff to discuss, but when it goes silent, when there's not that opportunity for people to speak about this or voice what's happening to them, it's that much harder to get themselves out of situations like that. And so Lily's kind of promised herself that she won't let what happened to her mom happen to her. She's moved to Boston. She's opening up a flower shop. As she's dealing with all these emotions, she's up on the rooftop where she meets Ryle Kincaid, played by director Justin Baldoni, who is a neurosurgeon dealing with a lot. You kind of meet him at a frustrating or kind of low point in his day at that time. And the two kind of bond over sharing naked truths. They also bond over a little bit of physical attraction because they're two very attractive human beings. Pretty undeniable physical chemistry, at least. But before they can make something happen, he's called away. I'm sure they're never going to see each other again until she opens a flower shop. and Jenny Slate ends up being the character Alyssa, who plays her best friend. And, through one way or another, Ryle finds himself back around her, back in Lily Bloom's life. And the two try to make a go at it. Not necessarily that Lily was looking for it, but Ryle is certainly um, aggressive with his pursuing of Lily. And all the while that they're kind of trying to form this relationship, you're trying to see him work for something that you get the impression he's never worked for before, trying to make an honest man out of him. You get these flashbacks to Lily's younger life, and this boy, Atlas, is played as a younger man by Alex Newstetter. And it touches on their relationship. And I'm not going to lie, for me, I think probably the strongest part of this film is almost in all of the scenes that exist in the past. I think Blake Lively's got 2 or 3 really powerful scenes later on in the film. But I think the biggest part of the story that really grabbed me emotionally, and I'm sure would grab readers and different people emotionally, was that younger relationship where you've got 2 young people who have experienced or have seen abuse one way or another towards their parents, kind of bonding over this trauma, this pain. And it really is just a beautiful look at how they're there for each other. Isabella Ferrer plays the young Lily Bloom. And after watching Furiosa, I don't know if they did AI to help kind of make her look like a younger Blake Lively, but you can see exactly how she will evolve and become Blake Lively from the little face marks or whatever it is. And that was very impressive. And she plays the role really well. But the 2 of them just have an outstanding chemistry that almost outdoes everything else in the movie, but really kind of sets the grounds for understanding what a loving relationship looks like and what a supportive relationship looks like. And so maybe in Hallmark fashion, time goes on, is she going to stay with this doctor guy who has a temper, who can kind of have outbursts, but provides her a great life? I know nothing going into the movie, so I don't really want to go too deep into it. If you're going to see it, I know a lot of people, women predominantly, who have read the novel, who have enjoyed it. I've heard from some, it can be a bit tougher of a read, just depending on, I think your closeness to the subject matter. I can certainly understand some people who've had reactions to this film where they feel like it's not glorifying it, but just glossing over it, or I don't know. I've seen multiple reactions to this film, which has made me curious, because I think what stood out to me was how honest and lifelike a lot of it felt, in the sense that while life is messy, yes, you want to be able to say these things or talk about what happened to you, to share this trauma, to share certain things. But again, there's moments you find yourself stuck in where, oh, it's not a good time right now, or this is coming up and that's just going to complicate everything. Or if I say this, it might affect this relationship that I have with someone else. And there's a lot of things in the film that bring up a lot of serious questions, whether it's just within love, within romance, within relationships, marriages, real life shit that is heavy, it is complicated, but it is what makes life what it is. And so I thought at least the approach in the film, I can't speak to the book. I thought, for as dark as things could get, I think they also approach things with a lot of lightness, with a lot of understanding, and a lot of maybe a hope of trying to kind of change people, not their outlook necessarily, but showing people what a healthy relationship could look like, what healthy communication can look like, understanding when it's okay to draw boundaries. So I don't know. I had a largely positive experience with the film. I, was one of the few guys who was in there, but it's not a knock on the film at all. I think anybody could go to this movie and could come out of it learning a lot, number one, but also being emotionally affected by a pretty great story. Again, I think the younger story in the past really helps influence the future and what happens later on in the movie. Jenny Slate is tons of fun as a great supporting character. She and Hassan Minaj have more bit roles, but just bring great comedic timing to the film. But Jenny Slate also brings just a great vulnerability to her role as well. She's just such a terrific actress who balances the serious with the funny so well. And Justin Baldoni, I thought, did a great job playing the incredibly attractive, suave, haunted lead character who definitely doesn't have it all together. You can see who is working and trying, but keeps a lot of things kind of close to the vest, which in the relationship is probably not great and doesn't help. But I don't know. I was surprised that it was the movie I ended up enjoying more through the weekend. Cuckoo was good, but It Ends With Us, I think, was far better. There was a lot more to be said. There was a lot more maybe that I hadn't seen before that it confronted me and other viewers with. And so for that reason, I think, again, it's not the most challenging film. And I say that just in terms, I don't want to turn people off to the movie in the sense that, oh, it's a challenge to watch. It's not a challenge to watch. But if you were sensitive to issues like domestic violence, it could be more challenging to watch. But I think it's important that there are books, films, discussions around these things because they do matter, and it leads to more stories of people trying to get themselves out of certain situations or creating better, safer lives for themselves as well. I did not go see Borderlands. I saw it made like $4 million on a $160 million budget. I didn't play the games really. My wife had. So she was interested in it. And leading up to the movie, it was kind of like, this could be interesting. Eli Roth is directing it and has kind of taken over some writing duties. Somehow they blackmailed Cate Blanchett into the film. Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Edgar Ramirez. I mean, it's a stacked cast. And Cate Blanchett went as far to say, hey, during the pandemic, I was bored. So I was ready to take on any acting gig that I could, which I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. She's an incredible actress. You can pick whatever projects that you want, Kate. We'll always support you. But everything I've heard about this movie is just awful. From fans of the game, from casual moviegoers, just not great. It was hampered by production issues, the strike, all sorts of stuff. The weirdest thing is that so many people online have said this for a while. I've read this for a while. I've known they were making a Borderlands movie, but this film was supposed to have one of the best scripts and treatments that anybody had seen for a video game movie. Funny, full of action, great story, ties into the games well, but kind of stands on its own for new viewers. Somewhere along the way, Eli Roth just kind of hacked it all up because people are like, this is not the movie that, he even signed on to. I mean, obviously he signed on to direct it and write it, but they were just like, it is a far cry from what was originally supposed to be a really great product, especially with the cast you've got involved. And so it's unfortunate that it kind of went through the hacking and rewriting treatment that it has. And it also was just, I don't know, for a video game movie, Eli Roth would not have been my first pick, I guess. Coming off of Thanksgiving, doing Knock Knock, Green Inferno, he does a lot of Hostel. I'm like, he does a lot of pretty screwed up stuff. But not that Borderlands doesn't have screwed up aspects in the Wasteland and whatnot. But it just felt like an interesting fit. It didn't feel like it made sense to me. And so hearing that this kind of hack job, as far as the script goes, had affected things, I'm like, that's just tough. That's not good. But yeah, for my money, even though I haven't seen it, I would advise you to go see It Ends With Us or Cuckoo, personally. Before getting to the Disney news, I did finish up the Batman Caped Crusader over on Amazon Prime. Again, it's only 10 episodes. Matt Reeves, J.J. Abrams, um, Bruce Timm kind of doing all the different production on it. Blend of Universal monster movies and those creature features, Warner Brothers gangster movies, this 40s, 50s noir feel. It really is taking Batman back to his roots before he's got all the great gadgets and gizmos. He's got some, but this is a Batman who is still learning to figure out the Gotham Police Department. What I loved most about kind of finishing the series, really getting into it, was the involvement of Barbara Gordon, the involvement of Renee Montoya, two characters who are pretty integral, both in the Gotham City world, both of the work that they do for the police department. I just, the work that Barbara's doing, whether it's legal, whether it's helping out, transporting people to Arkham, there's all sorts of integral things that both these characters do that I thought it was just really cool that they kind of focused so much on them. You've also got Deep Corruption with Bullock and Flass, two just dirty cops who make things impossible for Commissioner Gordon, but really also highlight some of that old good boys police crew. These guys don't mind putting bad guys away or putting them down. And as long as they're getting results, they're keeping things relatively safe. The mayor's fine with it, kind of keeps them protected almost. And so they're just shady. So you see how desperately Gordon needs somebody like a Batman, and how Batman desperately needs people on the inside, like Barbara Gordon, like Jim Gordon, and like Montoya, who he can trust, who are doing solid police work as well. And this is a series, I think, that thrives on a lot of the detective work that it's doing. It's kind of classical approach to some of these stories and these villains. 10 episodes, obviously I can't help but want more. I'm a selfish Batman fan, especially. It's how I kind of felt with X-Men. But Batman the Caped Crusader, really enjoyed the story. Really enjoyed how they set up a lot of the integral outer characters. I think they could have spent a little bit more money on the animation. This was a project that was originally at Warner Brothers, was going to be HBO or a Max original. Kind of got shopped around for a little bit after. Amazon was the one who ended up picking it up. I don't know if it was an issue of budget, if they thought, hey, this is, we're going backwards almost in terms of Batman and what he can do and what people know about the character. We're not necessarily retelling or remaking the wheel, but maybe it's a gamble to go backwards like that. And so with that thought, maybe the budgetary restrictions were a little tight. I've seen a lot of clips online that have really pointed out what I noticed while watching it too, where, the animation's just very still from time to time. There's not a lot of life in a lot of the scenes. I think the structures, everything in the background is beautiful. I think the creation of Gotham that they've done is classical. It looks awesome in the daytime and in the evening. But just the characters and some of the interactions, it felt too flat almost, maybe. And it just felt like you could blink a little bit more. You could be moving. Or these characters could kind of, if they run up the stairs, they're kind of huffing a little. I don't know. It just felt like everybody you have involved in this project, kind of a missed opportunity. Especially after watching X-Men 97 earlier this year. I mean, the animation there is just top notch, even though it looks older, which is fine, which is the point. There's so much life in every frame. And I felt like that was kind of desperately missing from the Caped Crusader. So that would be my one slight issue. Anybody who tells you not to see it or that it's crap is probably one of the people frustrated that Gordon and Barbara are black. Whatever. Grow up. We're so far beyond that at this point. We're focusing on Oswald a Cobblepot instead of Oswald. And the fact that Penguin is a woman now. How much does that really change? And actually to go at lengths to explore how that can kind of change the Empire. And it's innovative and it's cool. And so I think people just need to get with the times and move on. So before we wrap things up here, just wanted to touch on the D23. We got so many trailers from so many films. A new look at Moana 2. We've got our first look at Toy Story 5, which, again, they're the only ones who have consistently proved, yes, we can make sequels that are still solid, but 5 movies in, I just feel like, I don't know. I just leave it be. End on a make. Steph Curry hit the 3, end on the make, you know? It's that simple. Shout out the U.S. men's basketball team, though. But, we're also getting films. We're getting Hopper with John Hamm with some beavers. There's going to be a Pixar series, Pixar TV series coming to Disney Plus soon. Incredibles 3 is coming, which is pretty good news. As long as Brad Bird is heavily involved with this, that could be great. Incredibles 2 is fun. I need to go back and watch it. But again, you can't beat the original. Frozen 3 coming in 2027. That's so long from now. Because they brought Avatar 3, Fire and Ash, and there's a lot of really cool images from that. Like that's right up my alley. I was geeking about the Avatar stuff. That's coming out at the end of 2025. They're talking 2027 for Frozen 3. And a 4th film has also been teased. I'm like, you don't need to tease anything until we get to 2020. When that movie comes out in 2027, you can tease another one. But we got another look at Andor Season 2. Ryan Reynolds sent in some stuff, probably thanking people for all the help that they've made. Deadpool, almost $1 billion movie. We got a trailer for Snow White with Rachel Zegler, Gal Gadot. We got a Thunderbolts trailer. We got a Tron trailer. Tron Ares. 9 Inch Nails doing the soundtrack for that. There's another look at Deadpool. They're making a Monster Jam movie, I guess, that The Rock is doing. Yes, it makes sense for the type of deal, I guess. But again, maybe just like Ryan Reynolds, I'm kind of done with The Rock for a little bit. Maybe I don't need him to be in everything or doing every major series ever. So, I don't know. Disney, they just dropped trailer after trailer after trailer. You're looking at billions of dollars in trailers alone. They're just going to keep printing money. But we got a Daredevil Born Again look. There's a sneak peek at Ironheart. Just kind of been sitting, waiting for a while. You got Letitia Wright in there, Shuri, kind of talking with Riri Williams. So I don't know. Disney has got a lot on the horizon. We got to look at the Red Hulk from Captain America: Brave New World. Another look at Fantastic Four, which was kind of really cool. So DC and Warner Brothers, while your stock is plummeting after you've figured out, we've overvalued our assets in TV right now by about $9 billion. So they've taken a $9 billion loss for this quarter. Stock prices are low. They lost the NBA. They really brought nothing really to Comic-Con. They brought real comic stuff with the absolute stuff that they're doing. Stoked for that. But I don't know. Fantastic Four just started shooting. Superman just wrapped shooting. There was no footage they had that was ready for Comic-Con or anything for Superman. And yet somehow we get an awesome sizzle reel for Fantastic Four that has people stoked, has people excited for this kind of retro future look that they're kind of doing. So again, DC just keeps missing opportunities. Marvel and Disney knows exactly what they're doing. And so they're just going to continue to succeed at this rate. But yeah, James Cameron's Avatar 3, go look at those pictures. He's going to be doing some wild, wild stuff with new creatures, new aliens, new history for Pandora. Could not be more excited. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Go see Cuckoo. Go see It Ends With Us. I'm going to catch up on The Instigators with Matt Damon and Casey Affleck. That's going to be on Apple TV Plus. It is out now. I haven't watched it yet. Crime, comedy, thriller. Gronk is in it. Ron Perlman, Hong Chow, Jack Harlow. Could be good. Who's to say? Doug Liman's directing it, so Edge tomorrow. I'm hopeful. Thank you again, as always, for tuning in. You can find us at NT Movie Reviews on all social media networks, podcast platforms, and on YouTube. Thanks for checking in. Next week is probably going to be a little bit of a lighter week, taking a little vacation time here, but I'm going to catch up on some streaming stuff. So something will be posted. We will talk about some movies. I don't know if we're going to get Alien Romulus on the next round, but keep an eye and an ear out for that, because that's right on the horizon, and I cannot wait. Thanks again for listening, you guys. Take care.